The courtroom was silent, breathless. Rows of reporters and spectators leaned forward as the judge adjusted his glasses and prepared to read aloud the most explosive document the entertainment industry had seen in years. The pages trembled in his hands, not from nerves but from the weight of what they carried. The headline alone had already leaked: Leonardo DiCaprio implicated in covert negotiations tied to Sean Diddy Combs' legal defense. As murmurs rippled through the crowd, the implications sank in. Leonardo DiCaprio, the actor known for his environmental advocacy, for his role as Jack Dawson, for standing at the bow of the Titanic and the edge of the Oscars stage, was now standing at the edge of something far darker. Before we dive deeper into this unraveling scandal, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more in-depth stories like this one. What we're about to uncover will challenge everything you thought you knew about loyalty, silence, and the secret alliances that govern Hollywood's most powerful. The document revealed a chain of communications recovered from a subpoena of an anonymous intermediary's phone. Encrypted messages and voice recordings painted a picture of confidential meetings and hushed negotiations that, according to prosecutors, were designed to ensure that a key witness in Diddy's case, one who could potentially topple his empire, never spoke publicly. That's when DiCaprio's name appeared. Not as a passing mention, but in direct connection to a confidential agreement and a proposed career-saving opportunity meant for someone who had seen too much. Diddy, the music mogul whose lavish parties and record-breaking success had long masked rumors of manipulation and darker allegations, had been under investigation for months. But no one expected the fallout to reach the Hollywood elite, especially not someone like DiCaprio. As the court clerk handed the judge a supplemental brief, the gallery's silence cracked. Journalists raced to update headlines, typing furiously with trembling fingers. One leaned to another and whispered, "This could be bigger than Weinstein." So how did DiCaprio find himself tangled in this? According to initial filings, the actor and the rapper had maintained a discreet but steady friendship over the years. Private yacht parties in Ibiza, philanthropic galas in Cannes, and exclusive dinners in Beverly Hills had brought them together, often away from the public eye. But the most alarming detail wasn't their friendship. It was what DiCaprio allegedly tried to prevent from becoming public. The witness in question, later confirmed to be Maya Collins, was a former assistant with deep ties to Diddy's inner circle. Her testimony could link him to a web of illegal activities that had been whispered about, but never proven. The problem? She was scared, alone, and under immense pressure. That's when, according to the documents, an offer of protection and prosperity was extended to her, from someone who, on the surface, had no reason to be involved: Leonardo DiCaprio. Was it loyalty to a friend, fear of his own name being dragged through scandal, or something else entirely? Outside the courthouse, fans and reporters clashed, holding signs that either condemned or defended the actor. Inside, his lawyers remained tight-lipped, only issuing a statement that any interpretation of Mr. DiCaprio's actions as obstruction or coercion is categorically false. But the question had already been planted in the public's mind. Why would one of Hollywood's most admired figures risk everything? Maya Collins had lived in the shadows of the entertainment industry for nearly a decade. As a personal assistant to Diddy, her job had been to stay invisible, organizing events, shielding secrets, ensuring the facade of glamour remained unbroken. But now, thrust unwillingly into the spotlight, she found herself at the center of a battle far greater than she had ever imagined. She had been quiet for months after her departure from Diddy's inner circle, retreating to a modest apartment in Pasadena, hoping the past would stay buried. But secrets that potent never rest for long. A burner phone, a chain of encrypted emails, and an anonymous envelope marked the beginning of something that would change her life, and possibly the trajectory of Hollywood. In the files released during the court hearing, Maya was identified as the witness of interest allegedly approached through intermediaries on behalf of Leonardo DiCaprio. The offer was clear: complete silence in exchange for a generous financial settlement and a position in a film production company affiliated with one of DiCaprio's lesser-known partners. It wasn't extortion. It was presented as opportunity. a lifeline. A way out of the fear she had been living with since the night she stumbled upon what she wasn't meant to see. What she saw, as detailed in a sworn deposition, included late-night meetings involving unnamed men, cash transactions, and references to high-profile guests being handled. While Diddy stood at the center of the allegations, DiCaprio's name emerged in the context of damage control, seeking, as one message put it, to ensure the right story comes out, if any at all. But why would DiCaprio care? The deeper investigators dug, the more connections surfaced. Photos of DiCaprio and Diddy at charity galas, co-hosting elite fundraisers, a shared investment in a Beverly Hills real estate deal that, until recently, had flown under the radar. More importantly, whispers began circulating that Maya might also have seen something involving DiCaprio at one of those parties, something never meant to be public. Maya wrestled with the choice. The deal would offer her protection, a new life, security she hadn't known in years. But the cost? Her voice, her truth. She met privately with her lawyer, civil rights attorney Desmond Lake, who advised caution. "These people," he told her, "don't make offers like this unless they're scared, and scared people are dangerous." Still, the pressure mounted. The media had begun digging, camping outside her building. Strangers followed her car. And then came the final call. An anonymous voice, female, calm, warning her that nothing good comes from chasing ghosts. She refused the offer. Instead, she handed over everything to the authorities. Text messages, emails, voice recordings, enough to raise eyebrows and ignite panic in more than one Hollywood mansion. When the story broke, DiCaprio's representatives scrambled to contain the fallout. They released a statement calling the allegations false and defamatory, insisting that any interaction with Ms. Collins or her legal counsel was intended only to clarify facts, not suppress them. But the damage was done. Maya's name was now etched into a scandal that threatened to engulf two of the entertainment world's biggest figures. And as her lawyer confirmed on live television that more evidence would soon be released, evidence that could reshape the case, one question remained unanswered. What exactly had Leonardo DiCaprio been trying to keep quiet? The moment Maya Collins's interview aired, Hollywood froze. It was a raw, trembling testimony delivered with poise and undeniable emotional weight. She described, in carefully chosen words, the veiled threats, the whispered warnings, and the uneasy knowledge that powerful men were orchestrating a silent war behind red carpet smiles. Her decision to speak, she said, wasn't born of vengeance, it was survival. Within hours, the shockwaves hit. Twitter, TikTok, and every news outlet from TMZ to CNN lit up. The hashtag Silence for Sale trended globally. Fans, critics, and celebrities weighed in, many voicing support for Maya. But others were more cautious. Could someone like Leonardo DiCaprio, the face of humanitarian causes and indie cinema, really be part of this? Studios went into crisis mode. A major environmental documentary DiCaprio had been producing was abruptly shelved. Advertisers pulled out from campaigns. Talk shows cancelled appearances. For the first time in his career, DiCaprio found himself not just under scrutiny, but isolated. His legal team, led by veteran crisis manager Alana Reeve, issued a formal rebuttal. Mr. DiCaprio has never attempted to silence any individual. Any suggestion otherwise is a misrepresentation of standard legal outreach designed to clarify potential testimony. But the public wasn't buying it. The idea that someone of his stature could be involved in witness interference felt like betrayal to millions who saw him as a rare celebrity untainted by scandal. Meanwhile, new voices emerged. 3 former assistants who once worked for Diddy came forward anonymously, each sharing eerily similar experiences. Subtle coercion, offers of exit packages, and veiled threats involving mutual friends in high places. One even mentioned DiCaprio's name, not as a threat, but as someone who had stepped in before to keep things calm. Investigators began to wonder if this wasn't an isolated event, but part of a broader pattern of influence designed to protect a network of men whose power had never been seriously challenged. Behind closed doors, agents whispered of a purge. A-listers called their lawyers, afraid that past secrets might be resurfacing. Some began distancing themselves publicly from DiCaprio. A prominent actress who once dated him unfollowed his social media and issued a cryptic post: "Silence is consent." But amid the growing chorus of condemnation, a counter-narrative developed. Some defenders insisted DiCaprio was being used as a scapegoat, that his attempt to contact Maya had been misrepresented, that the real manipulation came from within Diddy's camp, and DiCaprio had merely tried to minimize damage for everyone involved. Still, the pressure didn't let up. Paparazzi swarmed his Los Feliz compound. Rumors spread that he'd left the country, though no official confirmation surfaced. His closest friends, once happy to be photographed in his orbit, now declined to comment. Even his philanthropic partners began reviewing contracts, unsure if the alliance would survive the storm. And at the center of it all was Maya Collins, a woman once invisible, now holding the truth in her hands. Her decision to speak had cracked the surface. But everyone watching knew, if the accusations were true, this scandal could bury not just careers, but an entire way of operating that had defined the entertainment elite for decades, and it was only getting started. The courthouse was flanked by barricades and cameras as Maya Collins stepped out of a black SUV, her face calm but unreadable. She walked with her lawyer by her side, a figure transformed from personal assistant to reluctant whistleblower. It was the first day of formal testimony, and the air in Los Angeles crackled with anticipation. Inside the courtroom, the tension was thick. Seats were filled with reporters, attorneys, and silent observers whose careers could be affected by the ripple effects of every word spoken. DiCaprio's seat remained empty, his legal team citing security concerns, but the weight of his presence lingered in every corner. Maya took the stand, her voice steady but heavy with emotion. Over the course of 3 hours, she described her years under Diddy's employ, the coded language, the late-night calls, the events where high-profile names were flown in under alias bookings. Her recounting of off-the-record meetings, financial hush agreements, and orchestrated media silence brought audible gasps from the crowd. But the moment that caused the courtroom to erupt in stunned murmurs was when she described the approach by DiCaprio's alleged intermediary. It was presented as a chance, she said. A better job, more security, maybe even a mentorship with someone in the industry. But only if I stayed quiet. They didn't threaten me. They didn't need to. The message was clear. I could have a future, or I could tell the truth. When asked if she believed DiCaprio personally orchestrated the offer, she paused. He knew, she replied. Whether he sent the message or nodded from the shadows, he knew. Later that day, the trial took a turn no one expected. A surprise witness, Patrick Bellamy, DiCaprio's former private security advisor, was called to the stand. He hadn't been on any public list. His name had not appeared in the filings. But when he took the oath, a chill ran through the gallery. Bellamy, a man with the look of someone used to silence, testified that he had been instructed to delete surveillance footage from a private estate event where Maya had once worked. He was told, he claimed, that no one should be able to piece together who was where and when. Did Mr. DiCaprio give that order directly? The prosecutor asked. Bellamy hesitated. Not directly, he said. But he made it clear that privacy was everything, and that some truths weren't meant to be remembered. Outside, protests had begun forming. Some carried signs that read, "Justice for Maya," while others, fewer in number, held posters of DiCaprio, quoting his roles, defending his legacy. The division among the public reflected a deeper split, one between those who saw this as the long-overdue reckoning of the powerful, and those who feared a culture of accusation could turn into a weapon. Meanwhile, inside Hollywood boardrooms, panic turned into paralysis. Executives who had once ignored complaints now scrambled to audit past NDAs. PR firms worked overtime crafting contingency plans, and those once silent began to whisper. Names, dates, stories buried in vaults now creaking open. For the legal teams involved, the case was no longer just about witness suppression. It had become a question of complicity, of how far one man's influence extended, of whether loyalty in the industry had become indistinguishable from liability. And for DiCaprio, absent in body but omnipresent in name, the trial was no longer a distant danger. It was here, and its outcome would determine whether his empire, built over decades of artistry and acclaim, would stand or fall. The verdict arrived on a rain-slicked morning, the kind Los Angeles rarely offered, grey skies mirroring the tension in the city below. Crowds gathered outside the courthouse under umbrellas, the buzz of live streams and news vans weaving into the hum of anxious expectation. Leonardo DiCaprio was not criminally charged, but the judge's written opinion delivered a far more damning blow than any sentence could. In it, he condemned what he called a pervasive culture of covert influence and informal intimidation within the entertainment industry, specifically naming DiCaprio as a participant, if not an architect, in attempts to manipulate truth through privilege. Sean Diddy Combs, on the other hand, faced mounting lawsuits and an open criminal investigation. A separate grand jury was already being assembled to consider charges ranging from witness tampering to obstruction of justice. His record label saw mass resignations. Sponsors withdrew. Properties were quietly sold off. But the story had grown beyond two men. Maya Collins, now under federal protection, became the symbol of resistance against the shadowed mechanisms of silence that had kept the industry insulated for decades. She appeared on news programs, not as a victim, but as a survivor with a mission: to expose the web and unravel its strings. She launched the Truth Foundation, aimed at supporting entertainment industry whistleblowers, offering legal aid and safe spaces for those afraid to come forward. Donations poured in. A-list names, some with their own stories of suppression, pledged support. And for the first time in years, Maya felt the weight on her chest begin to lift. Hollywood, rattled by the court's findings, responded with unprecedented measures. Major studios announced the formation of an independent ethics council. A new clause began appearing in contracts, the transparency rider, allowing any party to report misconduct without fear of legal retaliation. Streaming platforms added disclaimers to past Diddy collaborations, and DiCaprio's long-term deal with a global production house quietly dissolved. As for DiCaprio, he remained silent. He was last seen boarding a private jet to Europe. Friends close to him say he's staying in southern Italy, writing, perhaps reflecting. No formal statement followed the verdict, no interviews, no denial. Just the echo of his absence in an industry that once orbited him like a star, but reputations, once fractured, rarely return to their original shape. And though DiCaprio retains a base of loyal supporters, the magic that once cloaked him now feels faded, his name still golden in film history but tarnished in public trust. Diddy's empire, once an untouchable monument to music and culture, now stands hollow, gutted by truth and consequence. The world watched this story unfold not just as a legal drama, but as a cultural turning point, a reminder that power, unchallenged, can curdle into complicity. And that silence, no matter how gilded, eventually shatters. For Maya, it wasn't about revenge. It was about remembering. "I didn't want to burn it all down," she told a national broadcast weeks later. "I just wanted to stop living like I was already buried." And now, as the dust settles, one message remains. The cost of silence is no longer hidden, and those who try to buy it may find themselves paying a far steeper price. If you found this story eye-opening, don't forget to subscribe for more powerful narratives, and click the suggested video now on screen to continue exploring the truth behind the headlines.